but the writers thought they were clever and wanted to make Vance say shit. So I'm going to get my just desserts, pun intended, and say the word shit in this review.
So shit.
Okay guys, we're hitting a point here where I just cannot make sense of anything that is happening. What is happening on the screen is a load of crap. It is... Ladies and gentlemen, we just jumped the shark, I think. I think the shark has jumped. I knew this moment was coming. I've been warning everyone about it. Last 2 seasons, it completely fell apart in the last few episodes. Season finale is next episode. And let me tell you, this episode was proper nasty. And I'm going to explain why. But I just need to collect my thoughts. Because I don't even really know where to begin. This episode is called There Is a Tide. It is the penultimate episode of Season 3 of Disco. And I have no idea what that name means. I don't know. I haven't seen any water. Nobody used Tide to clean any clothes in this episode, but that's what it's called. So, in a sense, compartmentalized stories that happen per episode are largely gone right now. We've gone through the Looking Glass, and we are now in the end game of every episode, immediately continuing on after the end of the last one. This is essentially Terra Firma Part 4, but that doesn't really matter. We've seen the Viridian and the Discovery jump away. And now this episode immediately opens up with the Viridian shooting at the Discovery. But this is after Discovery has been taken over by Osyraa. And Osyraa is pretending to let the Discovery get shot. So, this is kind of interesting. I thought this was pretty smart. Osyraa wants to get access to the Federation headquarters. She has to get through the cloak. So she pretends that the Discovery is being shot at by the Viridian. She's ordering the Viridian to shoot the Discovery. The Discovery looks like it's in distress and needs quick access into the Federation. Pretty smart. Vance falls for this. Because of course he does. Vance is looking at it and he's like, is this really them? I don't know what to do. Better let them in. And they open up a hole in the cloaking field, or shield, I should say, that's just big enough for the Discovery. And meanwhile, Book and Michael are using a hyperspace or transwarp conduit to go from the Veruba Nebula to the Federation headquarters. And I swore to God somebody early on said that it's like a 50-50 chance to survive it. And yet here we are doing it, right? I guess it's not 50-50. I guess it's 80% chance, because we go through the conduit and we see why it is dangerous is because it's littered with garbage. Old starships are crunched up and inside the conduit like it's an actual tunnel. Like it's a physical tunnel you would imagine in real life. I did not imagine tunnels through space and time to look like a physical tunnel where you could drop an object and leave it there. Why are they staying there? Shouldn't they just be shot out the other end? What force is causing objects to stay suspended inside the conduit? Am I missing something? Anyway, the conduit takes the Nautilus with Michael and Book in tow to the Federation headquarters in a matter of seconds, because they get there before Discovery gets through the shield, okay? So they've gotten there in a few seconds. Nautilus has reconfigured itself into a smaller shape and is shooting at ramming speed into the Discovery shuttle bay. This is hilarious, but it works. And Book and Michael are now rammed into the shuttle bay of Discovery. And so now, on the inside of the Federation, the shield that they're around. They have Discovery, which is in control of by Osyraa, and Michael and Book in the shuttle bay. And the Book's ship is in a let's say a nebulous state of repair. So I have no idea if it's even fixable, but here we are. And Book, for the first of 2 times in this episode, wants to self-sacrifice himself for some reason. And he says that they expect one of us in the wreckage, brother. And he stays behind in the wreckage of his ship in the shuttle bay for some reason, while Michael goes all die-hard mode and tries to fight against Osyraa by wandering around the Discovery and trying to disable it. Guys, this is just die-hard. This whole episode, I got halfway through, and it hit me. The moment Michael loses her shoes, I was like, oh my god, this is Die Hard. I'm watching Die Hard. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. But our Hans Gruber is basically like Zara. Oh yeah, he's back in this episode. Remember that guy we tried to kill in like episode 2? He's back, baby. And he is on the bridge. He's been given the bridge by Osyraa, while Osyraa negotiates with Vance. And it turns out Osyraa just wanted peace. Why all the extremely dangerous subterfuge? She just wanted to talk to Vance. Why wouldn't he just talk to her? In my experience, the Federation has always been open to negotiations with anybody. If it meant a chance for peace, even a 1% chance that there's peace, they would negotiate. I don't understand why we had to sneak through the Federation defenses with the Discovery, controlled by the enemy, in order to broker for peace. I don't understand it. Am I missing something? Am I missing something that the writers forgot to put in? Or they put it in an early draft, and there's 45 million different executive producers on this show, and it's gone through so many rewrites that crucial piece of information isn't there anymore? Is that what happened? Michael is wandering around inside the Discovery, the huge, cavernous, voluminous, empty space of the Discovery, trying to disable it. And she succeeds in activating a fire suppression system, which is twice they mentioned fire suppression in this episode, so I don't know what's going on with that. The writers just got on a fire suppression kick all of a sudden. And she uses this to eject somebody out of an airlock that was used to evacuate the air. That's how she loses her shoes, because the character that gets blown out in the air rips her shoes off. She gets into a fight and gets her leg stabbed, and she just basically does all kinds of cool die-hard shit, and I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought it was neat seeing Michael doing hard things and surviving it, and this is cool. I mean, if Michael was doing more cool stuff like that, I'd be more okay with her, because other than that, we just have to tell the audience that she's cool. Here, we're doing a lot more to show that she's cool, and I thought that was a plus. This is more what she should have been like in episode 1 of Discovery, but what happens is essentially Vance and Osyraa are in the ready room of the Federation. They meet on equal footing, and Osyraa presents a document to Vance on how to negotiate for peace. She's putting forward legislation on ending slavery in her government. And we find out that she's not just a feudal warlord. She is like a prime minister, and the Emerald Chain is a legit government. Who would have thunk it? We never showed the audience this before. It's just kind of dropped on us now. I have no idea why Osyraa does a complete U-turn this episode. Maybe she's tricking Vance and the audience, but I can't see it because Vance had a lie-detecting hologram in the ready room called Eli. Yeah, just mess those letters around a little bit, and it spells lie. Wow, what do you know? This program is designed to tell if anyone's lying. And according to this program, Osyraa is telling the truth. Osyraa wants peace. So Osyraa's like, listen, look, we got all this commerce here. We got control of these planets, right? Like, why don't we merge our little federations together and we'll do what we do. You'll sanction our trade, and we'll leave you alone, and we'll stop attacking these planets, and look, we can have peace. And Vance is like, what? And the little holographic display comes up to show him the document, and I noticed that when you flip it around, it flips around in the scene, and the Starfleet emblem on there looks like it's flipped around the correct way, and then it flips around, and then it's flipped the wrong way, and then we see it again in another scene, and it's flipped the wrong way again. So I think the people who made this episode were trying to fix it so that to solve the conundrum of how you show an emblem that's not symmetrical on a see-through hologram. How do you show it from both points of view? They try to solve the problem by making it change depending on who's looking at it, but they messed it up, and there's a scene where you can see that the Starfleet emblem is backwards when it should be forwards. Or maybe I'm wrong and I was just too enamored by the stupidity of it to, have a good grasp on reality, but maybe you'll notice if you watch it. And negotiations break down though once the question of Osyra's leadership is brought to the fore. Vance basically says, "Listen, we can't move forward until we hold you accountable for your crimes. We have to make peace with the past of the Emerald Chain." This is correct, but this throws Osyraa into a rage because while she wants a peaceful future, she does not want to be held personally accountable. So she's not emotionally ready for peace. That's what that tells me. And negotiations break down. She leaves, and meanwhile on the ship, a scientist who we never seen before is now written into the show like he's a main character because he has a lot of scenes. He's the one who's inspecting the spore drive, and he's supposed to be figuring out how it works. And he takes the control crown off Stamets' head, and they have a little discussion about what they value in life. And the scientist says Osyra's really not that bad. She gave me my future. I was disabled, and I'm in this wheelchair. Granted, it's a futuristic, nice wheelchair. And she gave me this future, and she gave me my job. And Osyra's not that bad. And then Stamets says, from my point of view, it's the Osyraa that is evil. And Stamets has the high ground. And so the other scientist is like, okay. And drives away in his little wheelchair and says oh, don't worry. We don't need you to comply. We can grow the tardigrade cells on our own. So I was immediately thinking that we were going to transform Stamets into a tardigrade, which would be hilarious. But really what I think is that we're getting at this idea that the Emerald Chain is going to be cultivating tardigrade cells in order to operate the spore drive without Stamets' approval. Is it going to happen by next episode? I don't know. We're probably going to try to jam the Discovery through the hyperspace conduit, or whatever it's called, which is going to be hilarious, because we do need to get back to the Veruba Nebula next episode. I'm sure we do, because Adira, Saru, and Culber are still in there, much to the dismay of Stamets, who was pleading with Michael to let him jump the Discovery back into the Nebula because his whole family was in there. Adira and Stamets and Culber were kind of like a de facto family before this point, even though Adira was 15 years old, and that's kind of weird that Stamets is pseudo adopting her into his family. It's it's a little weird, especially to just drop it on us in this episode like this. I know we've known Adira this whole season basically, but we're treating these characters like they've been around for 3 seasons, right? I mean Adira and the scientist guy, the way they're written, an unearned sense of emotional connection to the audience that has not been earned through time and bonding. And Michael basically ejects Stamets from the Discovery inside his own personal escape shield, and then the Federation headquarters would automatically determine that he was ejected from the ship and then beam him back in. And while this is going on, Stamets is saying, like, no, let me out. I came to the future for you. We all came to the future for you. We wanted to help you. You gotta let me go back to the nebula. No. And I had an actual emotional connection to Stamets in that scene. Like, I believed his emotion. The acting in that scene was good. This is probably my second favorite acting scene in this series. Season, I should say. I believed it. It really connected with me. I believe that Stamets thought his whole livelihood was in that nebula. And especially he was crushed when he found out Adira was there too, because Adira had stowed away on Book's ship. And, think what you want about Adira. I believe that Stamets has that connection with Adira as he does Culber, who he has already lost once already. So it is quite sad that he wasn't able to save them. So Stamets is out of the picture. Presumably the spore drive's out of the picture. And what we have is the crew of the Discovery fighting back against the Emerald Chain, who was taking control of the Discovery, by causing some kind of ruckus in the room where they were imprisoned. Tilly and the rest of the bridge crew were imprisoned in some room by Emerald Chain operatives. And the Emerald Chain operatives, by the way, were told, don't hurt them. Don't touch them. So as soon as the crew heard that, they were like, we're invincible. We can do whatever we want. And what do you know? They just cause a disturbance, like it's a freaking cartoon show. And they take out the guards. And Tilly now has free roam of the ship after Rin hacked the sensors to make it look like they were lost in a fog of signals on the ship. So Michael, Tilly, and co. have free roam of the ship. We're trying to take it back from Zira, who is in control, while Osyraa is in the Federation base. And no more spore drive. And that's all well and good. We basically just watched Die Hard in space. But, ridiculously, the final scene. This is the worst scene I have ever witnessed in this show. And probably the worst scene I've witnessed in Star Trek since that episode of Picard where the character gets his eye cut out. This is probably the worst scene since that, just in terms of stupidity and pointlessness. Because we find out that after Tilly raids the weapon locker, they're worried about, oh my god, here comes some new bad guy. And it's the little droids. It's the little droids, the little repair bots that we've been seeing in the intro every episode this season, just to remind us that they're there, so we don't feel like we just got dropped. They just dropped them on us. A little bit of programming for your brain. And these robots come out, and they're saying they're willing to help take back the ship. And the sphere data that we had from the second season is now occupying their bodies. 100,000 years of data is occupying the minds of these 3 tiny, cute, cartoony robots, and they're willing to take back the ship. Oh my god. This is real. This happens. And they have a little hand signal. They give like a little salute or something. Like, they have a little hand thing. Oh my god. I couldn't believe this was real. That was the exact moment this became a cartoon. The show is a cartoon. I was gonna give this episode a 4, but I waited an hour and let it saute in my brain, and I have to give it a 3.5 after I saw those robots. I'm sorry, it's the most insane thing. You have to watch the episode to understand it. Understand the tone of the episode, the seriousness of the situation, and then 3 cartoony robots say they're here to save the day. Right, and it's the last scene. So that's the tone. That's the tonal shift that it leaves with the audience. It's completely ridiculous. I would have at least made the robots look less cartoony. Make them look a little bit more, utilitarian, maybe, a little bit more boxy. God, it's just so pathetic. And the idea that these robots can be wandering around the ship, hiding the sphere data, without Zara and the rest of the Emerald Chain knowing, it's beyond me. It's beyond me. The lapses in judgment going on here. Like, how could the might of the Emerald Chain allow frankly stupid bridge officers of the Discovery to escape captivity? You know? Why? I know Osyraa didn't want to hurt them as a show of good faith to Vance. But that doesn't mean you had to let them get out. Right? Like, why couldn't you have a physical barrier? You know? Okay. I'm just so distraught now. But I'm gonna go through some of my honorable mentions for this episode, if you don't mind. If you don't mind me doing it. Is this the first episode where Saru doesn't make any appearance at all? Not even Mira Saru? Like Doug Jones does not appear at any point in this episode? It's just something I noticed. I didn't see him at all in this episode, which sucked because he's cool. At one point during this episode, Michael... she tries to use her badge to get a secure signal out when she's crawling around the Jeffries tube to her mother on Navarre. Like Vulcan. We're trying to get the things you have to accept to not have that destroy your suspension of disbelief is beyond me. It's Michael thinks she's gonna die. She sends a secure message to her mom through the Discovery, through the walls of the Federation headquarters. The Viridian ship is orbiting the friggin' headquarters. It has to go through space all the way to Navarre, and this is with long-range communications supposedly down. According to the show's own admission, there is no long-range communications. And we're sending out a personal transmission that is quote-unquote secure. And this is when Michael is trying to hide her position. And no one finds out, no one catches this. The Viridian doesn't catch it. Like, come on. Like, and it's demeaning too. Because when Michael is upset, she calls on her mom. Mom, help me. Mom, it's time for me to get out of the bath. Mom, toilet. Mom, I have to get off the toilet. Come grab me off the toilet. God, come on, guys. Like, we don't need mom. But you know what this means, though. This means the Kawat Malat and Michael's mom is going to come save the day at the last second. Isn't that just going to be grand? It's not going to be Riker that saves the day at the last minute. It's going to be whatever her name is. Michael's mom. Let's just call her Michael's mom. You know, the futuristic Navarre space ninja. Dang, why are all these... The last 2 seasons of this show and season 1 of Picard all ended in kind of the same way, with help showing up out of nowhere, like almost like a Deus Ex Machina ending, that they realized in the writer's room that, oh my god, we can't just have this happen out of nowhere, and then they go back in time and write in silly little one-liners, little throwaway lines to justify it in the future. That's why this scene was here. They wanted Michael's mom to save the day and said, oh wait, we got to put a line in, and they went back and wrote it into this episode. Dang. The scientist character who is interrogating Stamets as to the nature of the spore drive, he honestly believed in Osyraa's good intentions and non-villainy. And then in this episode, we see him going from completely trusting Osyraa to not trusting Osyraa just because he stayed behind and watched Osyraa kill someone. Like, he must have worked for Osyraa for like 30 years. Like, how stupid is he? How stupid is this scientist character? To where he can completely change his view on Osyraa on the drop of a hat at the suggestion of Stamets that there's something maybe not quite right with Osyraa? Come on. How did he not know? who he was working for. How did he not know? Is he stupid baby brain? How did he not know this? It's obvious. At one point in this episode, Vance is talking with Osyraa, and they're having a little meal on the table between them. It's like a little fruit platter, and they have a bite of it, and Vance says, "It's pretty good for shit. This is made of shit. I love shit. All our food's made of shit. We shit it out, and then it goes down to the replicators and gets reformed into new food. It's a bunch of shit. Hey kid, you want to smell some shit?" And that's not exactly what he said, but I just didn't like hearing Vance say the word shit. I didn't want to see that. It's just not becoming of Starfleet. Don't say shit. The replicators do not just use shit, okay? Replicators on this ship use all kinds of things to make our food, okay? The protein resequencers use wastewater. Solid waste from our bodies. Garbage. The air we breathe out. Our breath. Moisture scrubbed from the walls of the ship into the ventilators. All kinds of things. And they get recharged with new physical material when we stop at starbases. It's not just shit, okay? He should have said it's reconstituted from this station's waste. Because that's what it is. It's made from waste of all kinds. But the writers thought they were clever and wanted to make Vance say shit. So I'm going to get my just desserts, pun intended, and say the word shit in this review. So shit. Osyraa had a good idea at first, sneaking Discovery into Federation HQ with her on board, but her ideas quickly became garbage when apparently she only wanted to talk to Vance. Why didn't they just talk before? Why all the dangerous pomp and circumstance? We're introduced to one of Osyraa's top scientists in this episode, who was so stupid he couldn't see Osyraa's villainy. So why am I supposed to feel bad for him? This episode is nothing but a comedy of errors. 3.5 out of 10. To be honest, I can't see the next episode being much better, because we're introducing characters and concepts in the second to last episode now. And that is all the warning sign I needed during the end of Season 1 and Season 2 to know that we're going off the rails. And by God, it ended on cartoon robots doing a little Vulcan salute or whatever to the crew and saying, "We're here to save the ship, guys." So that's it.